tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Yeah, ayy, let's go. Hitting that gridiron, we going hard, we running the plays. You know the vibe, only the strong survive. Gotta keep your head in the game. Talking NFL, uncut, straight raw. Steady bringing that sauce. We about to take off, get it hype. This man, our sport talk. Yeah, from the quarterback to the lineman. Everybody bringing heat. You don't really wanna try them. Hey, who gon' win? It's a battle of the giants. This show is the flyest. Nobody can deny it. This is Man Hour. Sport Talk. Man Hour. Sport Talk. What team you reppin'? We keep it interesting. Who caught another down? Who got that interception? This is Man Hour and Sport Talk.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckhouse here with the Man Hour. Be sure over manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page, but most importantly, check out the blog section as well. And if you are new here, consider subscribing to the page and liking this as well. And also, share this with a couple friends, because sharing is caring at the end of the day. Welcome to our AFC West edition here. All week long, we've been talking AFC West. We've broken down the Kansas City Chiefs. We've broken down the terrible Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, the Raiders suck. Deal with it. Sorry, Raiders fans. Jim, John, you guys know you are. Raiders suck. And we also broke down the crappy Los Angeles Chargers as well. But most importantly, this is a team that many people are kind of worried about this season. Many people are saying, hey, this team could potentially throw some upsets this season. And that is the one and only the Denver Broncos. But let's flash back to 2023 with the Denver Broncos before we get too carried away. The 2023 NFL season for the Denver Broncos was one some people would like to forget. Let's just be flat out honest. Yes, they did finish 8-9, but they never really seemed to really get the ball rolling. Every time they would win a game, then they would lose 2, 3, 4 in a row. But, hey, they did have wins over the Buffalo Bills, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Cleveland Browns, all 3 games in a win. Actually, they had a 5-game winning streak at some point in the season with wins over the Chiefs, Packers, Buffalo, Vikings, and the Cleveland Browns. They had a hot streak, but then Sean Payton's like, you know what? We don't like Russell Wilson. We want him out of town. Let's go ahead and cut this guy, a.k.a. they cut him and then they let them sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it was just kind of a, what do we do with their hands, right? So this offseason, they went into the draft. They drafted the edge rusher second round, but most importantly, they drafted Bo Nix with their first pick in the 2024 NFL draft. But before we get too carried away, we have to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, my guy from the NFL Experts, Mark, to the show. What's up, Mark? How's it going today, man?
What's up, Mike Buck? I'm glad to be on the show for you, man.
Hey, dude, I am always excited to talk football with a fellow football nerd, and I've been watching you guys over there on the NFL Experts basically since your inception of the show. Wayne G's like, hey, come watch my show, see what you like, and I like what you guys do over there. You are the NFL experts over there, so obviously you have some knowledge, but tell the people just a little bit about your show before we get too carried away into your Denver Broncos.
All right. Well, we're on all the social media outlets. We are the NFL Experts Pod, plural, so you can find us anywhere, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We do a live stream every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. I'm in Colorado, so it's 5 o'clock our time. Me and Wayne, we give our knowledge of everything football and everything NFL. We spit out our opinions, and you know what? You get an expert opinion.
Yeah, and with those experts' opinions, you obviously have your team that you enjoy out there, and your team is the Denver Broncos. So this offseason, you guys kind of had a turbulent offseason, maybe you want to say. You cut your potential franchise quarterback that you traded the house, the farm, and the dog and the cat for. You basically let him walk. You are still paying him this season, like $60 million or whatever it is. First things first, I got to ask you that question. When you heard that your team, the Denver Broncos, cut Russell Wilson, what was your first initial thoughts?
Honestly, Mike, it was kind of something I saw coming. Like I've stated on my show many a times, I felt like Russell was screwed from the get when he got here. He came here, he was like our second option. Everybody knows that the Broncos were trying to get Aaron Rodgers. We didn't get Aaron Rodgers. That's why we hired inept Nathaniel Hackett as our coach, thinking we could lure Rodgers here. He ditched us. He went back to Green Bay. So we decided, let's bring Russell in. So already he was our second choice. And then we pair him with Hackett, who can't run a freaking offense. Even the Jets are trying to get rid of him. So he was doomed that year. And then also that year, he was trying to be the in-the-pocket guy, run my own offense. He wanted to be like Mahomes and Rodgers. But you know what? That's not him. That's not Russell. Like, he may have wanted to do that, but that's not what he excels at. Okay, so year 2 with Sean Payton. I don't care what anybody says. Like, Sean Payton turned him around after his terrible year with Hackett. He didn't even like him most of the time. You saw it on the sidelines most of the game, especially during the Lions game when he berated him on the sideline. Yep. And I think it was just all coming to a head. Russell Wilson is not Sean Payton's style of quarterback.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if this move fails, it's going to set the Denver Broncos franchise back many, many, many years. But now we look at this quarterback room now. We have basically a brand new quarterback room. You have Jarrett Stidham that is currently listed as the starter. You have rookie Bo Nix, which we know Sean Payton normally does not play rookie quarterbacks for whatever reason. And then you guys traded for Zach Wilson as well. Earlier, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, you popped in on our show on the comments. I believe we were breaking down the New York Jets, and you said it would not shock you one bit if Zach Wilson wins that starting quarterback job. With that being said, are you ready to put your money where your mouth is and say Zach Wilson is going to be the starter for the 2024 season for the Denver Broncos?
Yes, I'm probably the only one, Mike, out there that believes this. But this is my thinking on it. Okay, Zach Wilson clearly has the better arm of the three guys. He's got a rocket arm. Two, he has the most starts and most experience as a quarterback. Those two things, I think he's got the edge on the other guys. And I don't know why everybody's sleeping on him.
Yeah, I think the main reason why people are sleeping on him is because of the dumpster fire that he was in New York. Because if you look at his time, his tenure in New York, he was consistently being thrown under the bus, play after play, game after game, year after year. This is the reason why we're losing. This is the reason why we're losing. This is the reason why we're losing. Insert Aaron Rodgers into the Jets. And just underneath the summer behind Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson looks like he took leaps and bounds going into that, first game when he was thrown in the fire. Week 2, week 3, then he kind of did, and then he seemed to digress toward the end of the season. So with that being said, if Zach Wilson is the starter this season and Zach Wilson looks decent, right? Let's say he's a 500 quarterback throughout the 16, 17 game season here, and they have 7, 8, 9 wins right in that area. Could you potentially see Zach Wilson be the long-term answer in Denver, or is Bo Nix the heir apparent?
I think Zach Wilson's really got to show above and beyond, like way better than he did in New York. But the one thing I will say is that when he was in New York, he had a defensive-minded head coach. I'm a firm believer that young rookie quarterbacks need to go to a team that has an offensive-minded head coach. They will help them develop. They know the offensive system. Like, you're just in a better spot. A defensive guy is not going to focus on offense. He's going to worry about his defense the whole time, and that's why Jack Wilson didn't develop. I think Sean Payton is going to really turn this kid around. But I don't know. I still think Bo Nix is going to be the guy eventually. Yeah,
there is a reason why you always draft a quarterback that high and then kind of add insurance behind him like Jarrett Stidham and Zach, just in case something does happen. But the most important thing that I want to talk about is obviously the Chargers have probably the worst wide receiver room in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. It's probably them, the Panthers, and then the Patriots. But then the Denver Broncos are kind of right there at the 28, 29 range as well. Cortland Sutton kind of seeking that long-term deal, has yet get the long-term deal. Marvin Mims Jr., Josh, and Tim Patrick. Your guys' receiving room seems kind of thin and seems kind of really a big wild card, right? Do you potentially see your receiver room stepping up? Does Cortland Sutton become a top 15, top 10 receiver in the NFL?
Well, last year he showed flashes of some great play. He had some crazy catches in the end zone. I know a lot of them were Russell's famous, get out of the pocket, right, improvise, and throw it in the corner. So he had 10 touchdowns last year. Like, he was one of the top guys, one of the top wide receivers with most touchdowns. And that was with Russell. And I feel like if he gets a guy that's more in the pocket, he's not going to have to do that improvising stuff, and he's going to get the ball more. Like, I'm not going to say he's going to be a top 15, 20, whatever ranked wide receiver, but I think he's going to do good for us. He's our one guy that we need to rely on, and because he's like the one experienced wide receiver in that room. So he needs to show the rest of those young guys that we have, hey, this is how it's done.
Obviously the Broncos have not signed him to a long-term deal. In your eyes, what are they waiting on? Are they waiting for him to prove it this year, or are they waiting to potentially see what's out there in the draft? Like, what are they waiting on?
I think they want to see what he's going to do this year because he's still on the books for 2 more years.
Right.
He just wants a little bit more guaranteed money. And I think if that was really the issue, the Broncos would have already given it to him. I think they really want to see, hey, you played really well last year, 10 touchdowns, super good improvement. Let's see what you can do this year with a pocket quarterback, with me and revamping the offense, because Sean Payton was kind of handcuffed with his offense last year because of Russell Wilson. Now he's going to have his full spread offense that this whole team is going to be able to take advantage of now.
Yeah, so speaking of the whole team, the defense also has been kind of taking shots the last couple of seasons, right? You lost Von Miller, 3 years ago now. Patrick Surtain's getting older, and the rest of the defense kind of seems like big question marks, right? You did draft a defensive end from Utah, Jonas Ellis, right? And he potentially could be a Von Miller-esque type of player. How bad is your defense going to be? Let's just be flat honest. How bad is your defense go
Honestly, everybody says our defense is going to be bad. Like, granted, we started off bad, really bad last year with the Miami 70 burger, but we turned it around. Like, we were one of the best defenses in that. You were talking about that winning streak we went on.
Yep.
We had the best defense during that whole span of time. We had the most forced fumbles, most interceptions. And I could see that happening again. I can see our defense turning it around. I think Vance Joseph, now he's got another year under his belt with the defense. Granted, we lost Justin Simmons and we lost our linebacker. I'm drawing a blank on his name. But I don't think those were huge pieces. I think maybe Justin Simmons might be, because that's the back end, the deep routes. That might hurt us. But we did sign that guy, Brandon, drawing a blank on his name, from Miami, a young, good, upcoming safety. So I don't think we're really going to hurt that bad. I think we're going to probably be the lower tier, but I think our defense is still pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously any defense in the NFL can look great in stretches. It's a matter of putting it through 12, 13, 14, 16, 17 games in a season. That's been the biggest downfall of the Kansas City Chiefs in their non-Super Bowl years, is the first half of the season their defense sucks. But one of the bright spots of the Denver Broncos has been their offensive line. Now, I know last year Russell did his thing, right? Scrambled a lot. But if you look at the rankings of the offensive line, the Denver Broncos had a top 10, top 5 offensive line all season long. With now a pocket quarterback, a non-scrambling quarterback, a non-improvising quarterback, can you see your offensive line getting even that much better?
I do. I also think the running game is going to even be better. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but Russell Wilson ran into 25% of our sacks last year. That's a huge number. If we can eliminate that completely, that's going to help us out tremendously.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, Russ is going to Russ, I guess, at the end of the day. But that's the past. This is the present. The 2024 NFL season. Basically, we need to talk about the games. They have is it a favorable schedule in your eyes?
No, I think we have a tough stretch in the beginning, and we have a really tough stretch at the very end of the season. So I think we got to kind of screwed in the beginning and end of the year, which is going to be tough because you really want to start off hot and you want to finish hot. And so we have a lot of tough games, so it's going to be tough. Yeah,
and so let's just go ahead and start breaking down these games. Week 1, you guys traveled to Seattle to take on Geno Smith and the Seahawks. What are your thoughts about this game?
Okay, so like I said earlier, I do think Zach Wilson's going to start the year, but I think at some point, Bo Nix will get the start, maybe after week 4, maybe after week 6. Not totally sure, but I don't, like you said, Sean Payton doesn't start rookie quarterbacks, and I don't think this is going to be the year that he does that. So Zach Wilson will be starting this game, but I don't think Geno Smith is that great, and I don't see them beating us. Like, we almost beat them 2 years ago with Hackett. I think we're going to win this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Seahawks are one of the biggest wild cards out there, right? Because Geno Smith did play at an MVP level 2 years ago. They still got DK. They still got Tyler Lockett. They have a pretty good defense still. But the biggest wild card for the Seahawks is they got a new head coach. Nobody really knows what this new head coach, what the offense is going to look like. Even watching OTAs and camp with the Seahawks, I can't judge anything. But I do know one thing, and the Denver Broncos are not going to beat the Seahawks. I have no faith in the Denver Broncos this first 8, 9, 10 weeks of the season. It is going to be tough for you guys, and I don't care if Zach Wilson's starting. I don't care if Jarrett Stinnen's starting. I don't care if Justin Fields is starting for you guys. It's going to be a tough loss, unfortunately. Taking us into a week 2 matchup. Speaking of Russ comes back home to take on his former team that cut him. The Pittsburgh Steelers come into town. What are your thoughts about this one?
Well, I actually have tickets to this game, Mike, and I usually when I go to the games, they lose. So I'm making this as a loss.
Well, maybe just maybe you should stop going to home games. Then I'm just putting it out there, but. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a pretty good team this season. We've already broken down the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I do have the Steelers winning this game. But I think Russ just doesn't have to suck for the Steelers. They have a top 5 defense. They have a really good running back in Najee Harris, and I'm not for sure if the defense of the Denver Broncos can hold up against that powerful Pittsburgh Steelers offense. On the bright side, you are at Mile High Stadium, and that is a true home field advantage, especially for teams that come from the coast, right? And obviously Pittsburgh's not on the coast, but it's still pretty down low to the sea. Give us the Week 3 matchup, back on the road, traveling to Florida to take on Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers.
Okay, this is another one. I think the Buccaneers, they lost a lot of pieces. They lost Devin White on the defense. I don't think their defense is going to be as good as it has been in the past years. Baker does have Mike Evans, but that's really his only weapon. I think this is going to be a win for us.
See, last year people were sleeping on the Bucs. I rode the Bucs all season long. Rode them into the playoffs. Rode them into Detroit. Baker Mayfield is the real deal. Yes, he has Mike Evans. Don't forget about Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is the true X factor for the Buccaneers. The one thing bad about the Buccaneers is their defense is starting to age a little bit, starting to get a little long in the tooth. But Bucs at home, I like the Bucs. Give me the Bucs. Week 4, we talked about this when we broke down the Jets. This is when you chimed in saying that, hey, Zach Wilson could be the starter. Denver Broncos travel to New York Week 4 to take on the Buccaneers or to take on the New York Football Jets. Who do you got winning this game?
I have this as a loss. I think this is going to be one of those revenge games for them. Rodgers going to be back. We don't really travel well on the East Coast. We're going to have a couple of East Coast games in that time span. I just don't see this looking good for us. I think this is going to be a loss. Yeah,
not only is this an East Coast game, not only are you going to play the New York Jets, this is a 1:00 kickoff game as well. So for you in Denver, Colorado, it's going to be 11 o'clock in the morning. What is the last thing I want to do at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday? Wake up and play a football game. They are going to be sluggish. The crowd's going to be rowdy. Zach Wilson is going to be back in town. They're probably going to be booing him or saying, hey, where's your hot mom or hide your mom? You know, the memes are going to be all over the place. Unfortunately, I think the Jets win this one. I mean, not unfortunately. I got to think the Jets are a wee bit better. And right now, the Broncos are struggling right now. They're 0-4 in my eyes. You have them, what, at 2-2?
2-2, yeah.
Yeah, and it is tough. But Week 5, they travel back to Mile High Stadium, and they play a terrible Las Vegas Raiders team.
Okay, so there's a record, Mike, that we haven't beat the Raiders like the last 7 times we've played them. I'm probably wrong on that exact number, but we're going to break that streak this year, and we're going to beat the Raiders at home.
You might beat the Raiders. Of course, 16 other teams are going to beat the Raiders as well because the Raiders are just not very good. But unfortunately, one of the Raiders' 5 wins, I have them 6 wins on the season, comes Week 5 versus the Denver Broncos. Because unfortunately, it is tough starting the season 0-4, traveling to Seattle, traveling to Tampa Bay, traveling to New York. You're finally home. You kick off your feet, and then you got a rivalry game where the Raiders just flat out hate you. And at this point, people are calling for Zach, or they're calling for a quarterback change at this particular point. Maybe calling for Sean Payton's head a little bit. It is rough sledding in Denver right now. But on the bright side, Week 6, you're still at home, and you welcome another bad team, LA Chargers, into town.
Okay, so the Chargers, we pretty much have owned the Chargers over years. I'm not worried about the Chargers. They have a new coach, Jim Harbaugh. I do think that he will turn that team around, but not this year. Like you said, they have a very bad wide receiver core. Like he's piecing his team together, but this year they're going to struggle, and we're going to beat them.
Yeah. I think you will beat them, but just not week 6. Week 6, you're still trying to figure yourselves out. The running game in LA at this time is starting to click, right? The Chargers have Gus Edwards. They have J.K. Dobbins. Justin Herbert's still somewhat healthy. And I just think they're a little bit too much for you guys. And 0-6, I think, is a real possibility. And
you are killing me, Mike.
And you are hoping for a bye week, but bye week's not for another 2 months in the season. So week 7, you play a familiar foe. You play Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints at Mercedes Superdome.
Okay, so according to mine, we beat the Raiders, we beat the Chargers, both at home.
Yep.
Then we go to New Orleans. This is going to be a homecoming for Sean. This is going to be another win. We're going to go on a 4-game winning streak.
Whoa. 4 games in a row versus 2 division rivals versus two former teams. People always tell me to put down the crack pipe. Like, I think you might need to come down to sea level to check your altitude because I don't see the Broncos hanging with the Saints. However, we talked about bad receiver cores. The Saints have a pretty bad receiver core too. Michael Thomas is no longer there. Chris Olave is really their only threat. Alvin Kamara, is he even going to be eligible? He keeps punching people in Vegas every time he gets out. But I think this is a good game. I think this is a knockout, drag-out game, and it's going to come down to the final field goal. But the Saints win it. 0-7, man.
And see, I think Sean Payton really knows Dennis Allen. So, like you said, it's going to be a good game. But I think you're wrong, Mike. I think Sean's going to get that homecoming win.
It would be nice because, if they're on a 4-game winning streak at the particular points in your eyes, things are looking pretty good. Things are looking up because then you welcome Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers back into town week 8.
Oh, that's a win. I think the Carolina Panthers are terrible. Like, they are building. I don't think Bryce Young is that great of a quarterback. Nope. And honestly, dude, I think their owner is a complete piece of shit. And so I really hope we beat them, and I think we will.
Yeah, I mean, really the only bright spot about the Carolina Panthers are Adam Thielen. I think he is probably one of the most slept-on receivers in the NFL, especially going into the 2024 NFL season. He did have 1,000 yards last season, but I did have the Carolina Panthers beating the Kansas City Chiefs earlier this week. But I do think the Broncos do win this game. I think the Broncos finally get their first win over the Carolina Panthers, and these next few games might shock you because I have the Broncos kind of getting hot, and they continue that hot streak, I believe, versus week 9 when they travel to Baltimore, and they do beat the Baltimore Ravens week 9. 2 wins and a little win for me. What are your thoughts?
And you want to tell me that I'm smoking crack? Come on, Mike. Okay, so we kind of have opposite feelings. I feel like we're gonna go on this win streak, and then it's gonna turn, and we're gonna derail, and we're gonna lose to Baltimore. We never play well in Baltimore. That's another early start time. We just don't play well there. Lamar Jackson runs all over us every time. That's a loss.
Well, unfortunately, the Baltimore Ravens also always overlook weaker opponents every year. Somewhere along the line, somebody comes up and bites them in the ass, and I think week 9 is perfect to come up and bite them in the ass. Lamar Jackson's overrated. It is what it is. Week 10, you're still on the road. This time you travel to Arrowhead. Last year, you guys did beat the Kansas City Chiefs on your 5-game winning streak. It started your 5-game winning streak. In my eyes, right now, you're on a 2-game winning streak. Wins versus the Panthers, wins versus the Ravens. Can the Broncos upset the Kansas City Chiefs week 10 at Arrowhead?
We never play well at Arrowhead, dude. Actually, I should tell you, Mike, this is one of the games on my bucket list that I've been wanting to go to at some point in my life. I will go to a game at Arrowhead there and rep my orange in front of all your fans someday. And it's just a tough crowd. I think this isn't being another loss for us.
Yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are just too much for you guys, unfortunately, especially at home, 1 o'clock game, early November. Let me tell you a great story. My first NFL game was a Christmas Day game. I believe it was 2017, 2018. Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos. It was Alex Smith was the quarterback. Travis Kelce was still really much unknown. Tyreek Hill was pretty much unknown at that point still. Dontari Poe threw a touchdown in that pass to really seal that deal. So that was my first NFL game. And if you want to go to Arrowhead, man, I will make the 8-hour drive there, and we'll meet up, and we'll definitely hang out. We'll have a good time.
Yes, let's do it, dude. I want to try some of that good-ass barbecue I've been hearing about.
Tailgating at Kansas City, you will not go hungry. I'll tell you that 100%.
All right, well, let's plan it, Mike.
But back at home, back in Mile High Stadium, Week 11, you guys welcome Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons into town. An Atlanta Falcons team that I think a lot of people are kind of overestimating, to be honest. What are your thoughts about this game?
I think people are hyping them way too much. Look, they have a new coach, new quarterback, a lot of changes. So I think they're going to eventually be good, but I don't think it's just going to happen right away. And I think after coming off 2 losses to Baltimore and Kansas City, we're going to come home and we're going to get this win against Atlanta.
Yeah, it would not shock me one bit either. If the Atlanta Falcons are in some type of quarterback controversy going into Week 11, because they did draft Michael Penix Jr. They actually moved up in the draft, way up in the draft, to draft him. Well, he was in the first round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. So if the Falcons are going to be the way I think they're going to be Week 11, there might be that quarterback change, and Michael Penix Jr. just may not be ready for the spotlight at Mile High Stadium. It's a tough place to play. Let's just be honest. It is a tough place to play at Mile High, and I like the Broncos as well in this game.
All right.
Giving us a Week 12 matchup, a rematch of the Raiders just from a few weeks ago, but this is Week 12 at Allegiant Stadium here. What are your thoughts?
For some reason, I feel like we have lost to the Raiders so many times before, and this year I think we're going to finally get our win at home. But I think we will lose there, and we'll split it with them.
Yeah, I concur with this. I think at this point the Raiders are probably starting Gardner Minshew or maybe getting a quarterback off the street. I think the Raiders are in that quarterback turmoil as well.
Oh, yeah.
But they do find that mojo, like that Gardner Minshew magic for whatever reason, and they do win this game, giving us a Week 13 game. This is a Monday night game. How did the Broncos get on Monday night? I don't know, but they're at home on Monday night, taking on Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, Mike, we got 2 primetime games. Hey, it's something. Yeah. We'll take it. I know it's just, hey, we deserve something. We're good on Monday night.
Listen, I'd rather watch the Broncos on primetime than the Jets like 6 times in the first 8 weeks. So,
all right. Okay, Cleveland at home. This one I kind of went back and forth on, Buck. Like, we've kind of owned the Browns over the years, especially the fumble, the drive.
Yep.
I'm sure they hate us, but I think this is going to be a loss for us.
Yeah, and I think the opposite. I think the Cleveland Browns are a really good team. They have a really good defense. They have a hell of an offense. Nick Chubb is a beast. But just like when you guys played the Ravens, I think the Broncos kind of elevate their game for this game. Monday Night Football at home. Bo Nix is probably chomping at the bits to get in there because you have the bye week the next week. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of buzz around the team. And I do think the Broncos do win this game going into the bye week, Week 14. This is the week that I do think that they make the quarterback change to Bo Nix, because I don't think they have any shot at the playoffs at this particular time. I mean, they might have an outside shot, but I think this is where you get your quarterback's feet wet. You see what you have, right? Do we need to go to the draft? Do we need to do this, and this? But you are kind of on the opposite. I think you're sitting about 7 wins right now, right? 8 wins?
Yeah, I'm at 7 right now.
7 wins. So with that being said, how are you looking at this Week 14 off? Like, quarterback change, wide receiver, possibly I guess the trades have already passed that, like, at that point, but needed by
honestly, Mike, dude, it's brutal. Like, to have the Week 14, I think if we were a playoff team, Week 14 probably be ideal to have. Like, you play all those games and then you get a rest right before the playoffs. But in our case, we've won in my scenario, we've won 7 games probably not going to be a playoff team. Yeah, so it's brutal, dude. It really is.
Yeah. There are 2 terrible bye weeks, right? Week 4 and week 15 are probably the 2 worst bye weeks in all of the NFL. Week 14 is probably right up there as well. Give us a week 15 matchup at home versus the Indianapolis Colts.
I think with the bye week and possibly Bo Nix getting prepared, and I kind of agree with you that he might start after during this game. And I think with that extra time, we're gonna win. We're gonna beat Indy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Colts have the week off prior to you guys as well, and I think the Colts are going to be pretty good. I think Anthony Richardson is the real deal. Michael Pittman Jr. just got his deal. JT just got his deal. I think the Colts are going to be in there to really wreak some havoc, and I actually do have the Broncos winning this game. I think the Broncos are kind of this is. I feel this is going to be the Broncos' MO all season long. Is they're going to step up to those big games, to the Chiefs, to the Ravens, to the Browns and Colts. Right, they're going to step up to those big games and play them competitively. But then they're going to look like dog crap versus the Chargers and the Raiders and the Panthers. You'd be like why can't we play this good when we play these guys? And it could be a totally different season. Speaking of a bad team, the Chargers, you travel to SoFi week 16 and Justin Herbert and the boys.
Okay, Mike, I'm not totally sure you know this, but when we go and travel to LA, that's like a home game for the Broncos. We have a ton of fans that go to that game every year. Chargers don't have a fan base. Our fan base is always usually there. I'm saying that's a win.
Yeah, it would not shock me either. But unfortunately, Mark, I don't know if you know this, but the every team that the Chargers play at home is basically a road game for the Chargers. It just for whatever reason, when the Chargers, Rams, and Raiders were all in LA, they had more visitors at the stadium than they do there. It's just stupid, honestly. But it was
the same way in San Diego though too. We used to overcrowd their stadium too.
Well, I mean, you do have a direct flight from LA to Denver, right? So that helps. But yeah, I mean, I definitely get it. But week 17 game here, you're back on the road, taking on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, so me and Wayne constantly debate on our show. He doesn't like Joe Burrow. I really like Joe Burrow. And as we were talking about Anthony Richardson, Wayne really likes him, and I don't think he's going to be all that great. I think he's really hyped up. I think he's just a physical specimen, and that's why he got drafted. But let's see what he really does when he can stay healthy.
Right.
With Joe Burrow, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year this year. He's going to be healthy. I'm kind of worried about his wrist injury that he said that they don't know for sure it's going to be fully healed, if it's going to affect him during the season. So I really hope that for him that he's healthy. So in my scenario, he will be healthy, and him and the Cincinnati Bengals and the Chiefs are going to be fighting for the number 1 seed. So they're going to do everything they can to beat us, so we're going to lose.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is one of the most fragile quarterbacks in the NFL. We talk about, Lamar Jackson always getting hurt and other quarterbacks always getting hurt. Joe Burrow gets hurt just as much as the rest of the quarterbacks in the as those top names there. It seems like every year he's missing a couple games. And when he doesn't go, the Bengals normally don't go either. But however, I do think he will be healthy in this game. I think the Bengals will be clicking at the right time. But once again, the MO of the Broncos all season long, they step up to these big games. They've already beaten the Browns. They've already beaten the Ravens, and they're not going to beat the Bengals. Unfortunately, the Bengals just too much power for them. The passing game is very, very powerful at home for the Bengals, and I think the Bengals win this game. It's a close game, 17-13, maybe 20-17, last-second points here, but I do think the Bengals pull it out, giving us the Week 18 matchup at home to end the season versus Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, so in my scenario, Mike, this could go 2 ways, I think. I think if the Chiefs have the number 1 seed locked up, they're not going to play any of their guys, and it might be an easy win for the Broncos. But if they're fighting for that number 1 seed, they're going to do everything they can to beat us. But I think it's going to be the latter, and they're going to beat us.
Yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs have to play this Week 18 game as well. Not because I don't think they're going to be a 9-10 win team. I think they're going to be a 12-win team this season. But this final Week 18 game is going to catapult them into that top overall seed going into the playoffs. So this is a must-win for them. And the Denver Broncos are kind of like, right? I mean, yeah, it is a division game. Yeah, you want to win, but at the same time, it's at Mile High. January, cold. Really don't want to be outside. Really don't want to be outside for very long. So let's go ahead and just wrap this thing up real quick here. And I do think the Chiefs win this game. So I ultimately have the Denver Broncos going 5-12 this season. What do you have them at?
I have them at 9-8, just on the cusp of barely being over 500. It's one more win that we had last year, and it's a steady, slowly improvement for Sean Payton.
Okay, so you have them one game better than last season. Where on the roster did they get one game better in your eyes then?
I think now that Sean Payton has his guy or his guys or whoever he decides on, like I was saying, he was handcuffed. His offense was all last year with Russ. I'm really curious to see when it fully opened. All those times when I used to see Drew Brees just sling it all over the yard. Granted, it was kind of boring, but it was efficient. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, so you think another year, Sean Payton, his offense, his guys, whatever, that's an extra win. Have you thought
so, yes.
Have you thought maybe Sean Payton was carried by Drew Brees and those 3-4 years off that he had? Well, how long did he retire? Was it 2 years off? Maybe he's lost touch with his guys. Do you think Sean Payton is still the man, the myth, the legend that we saw in New Orleans, or is he just kind of overrated a little bit?
Honestly, Mike, I don't know. Like, I've only got to see 1 year with him here, and that was with Russ, and so it wasn't even his guy. So this is like a true test this year because he's got a guy that he likes, that he handpicked. Well, 3 guys that he handpicked. Hopefully one of them will work out. Like, as a Bronco fan, Mike, I have to hope that it's going to bake out and it's going to work and that he's still the old Sean Payton.
Right. So is he on a short leash then? Like, I mean, he has guaranteed, $100 million or whatever deal that he got for 6 years, 8 years. Is he on a short leash, or because the Broncos are still paying Russ all that money, are they stuck with Sean Payton, do you think?
I don't think they are. I think the Walton Penner group, I think they're the type that they'll make the move if they really think that he's not the guy. But I think drafting Bo Nix, they're going to give him a little leeway to see what he can do with this kid. And like we were saying in our scenario, he doesn't even start until week 14 or week 15.
Right.
So that's not even a good sample size to see him. So I think Sean at least has a couple years.
So one of the big things that I've talked about Chargers fans this offseason was their general manager, Joe Ortiz. Joe Ortiz was a former Baltimore Ravens general manager, and he made 7-8 big in-season trades, to really boost that roster up. Can you see Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos making a trade to really boost that receiver core by the Halloween trade deadline?
I do. I kind of keep thinking Mike Thomas. Maybe Sean Payton's been talking to him. Who knows? He hasn't signed with anybody, and I think maybe he's just waiting for the right fit. He probably sees us as not a team like, oh, it's the Broncos. I'm not going to the Broncos. We're not going to win. Like, he probably wants to go somewhere and win. But I think him and Sean have a relationship, and I think maybe that might sway him here. Sean has brought a lot of former New Orleans people to the Broncos.
Right.
And I could see Michael Thomas being another one.
And so do you think Michael Thomas will come in and instantly take that number 1 spot from Cortland, or is he going to be like a number 2 guy? What do you think?
Well, depending on his health, I think that question to be answered by his health. If he's healthy, I see him being number 1. But if he's still like nagging injuries, he'll be the number 2 guy.
All right. Well, we will see. Unfortunately, I don't think Michael Thomas was ever injured. I think it was just a way to get out of New Orleans with somewhat of a unscathed record. I get, fighting teammates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Mark, that is going to be it for tonight's show. Before we go, tell the people where they can find your podcast, where they can follow you, and all the good stuff.
Yes, check me and Wayne G out. We are the NFL Experts. You can find us NFL Experts Pod on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. We recently have had some trouble doing our live stream on Facebook. They change the rules, and you have to have over 100 followers to do live streams. So please, anyone out there that likes our opinions and our expertise, come please give us a follow so we can get back on Facebook. But we will still post it there. We will have a show tomorrow night. We do it every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
All right, guys. So that is my man, Mark from the NFL Experts Podcast. Be sure to check them out. Link is down in the description below. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. We out.